Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to do a DIY Dollar Tree farmhouse decoupaged trees. We found these trees at the Dollar Tree. They're actually really cute. They almost look like they're made out of paneling. We're going to do farmhouse looks. We're going to use this buffalo check wrapping paper from Walmart. It's $2.98 for 70 square feet. And then we're also going to use some of the buffalo check black and white and black and white gingham for from Walmart. That's fabric. You're going to need a scissor and an X-Acto knife if you use the fabric. And then you're going to, of course, use Mod Podge and a foam brush, which I got those at the Dollar Tree as well. So a lot of people have trouble finding the trees. These are actually last year's trees that my store had them again today. And I'm actually just going to put stuff on the back. They're really cute on the other side, so I left them so that they could be reversible. And I'm just cutting, like ripping basically a piece of paper big enough to cut to deal with. This wrapping paper is such good quality. It's almost like a craft paper, so it really took the decoupage really well. Sometimes when you decoupage real thin paper, it bubbles up. So for this particular project, I'm wanting to leave a border, so I'm tracing exactly the size of the tree, and then I'm going to cut in about 1/4 of an inch on each side, on each line. As a matter of fact, I'm drawing in that shape for you guys first. So hold on, let me zoom in for you. So now you can see here, I'm actually just freehanding it. I'm just making it a little, moving in a line, creating the same exact space around. Try to be as uniform as possible. And then I'm going to cut on that line, all right? And as you see, I didn't want to put this pattern on the star, but you could put it on the star if you want to. I just wanted to make it a little different. I wanted the star to just be the plain wood color. And I'm also not doing the trunk on this particular tree. I'm leaving the trunk the same, the MDF color as well. But there's other options, and I'll show you some other options at the end, okay? Now, a sharp scissor is really good, but you're not necessary for this. And if you didn't want to leave the border, then you would just go ahead and actually cut around what was actually traced. This is just, I feel like everybody knows how to do that kind of decoupage. So we're with paper anyway. So we're going to just show you how to trim it up just to make something a little bit different. And the real tutorial here is more about like dry fitting and readjusting, and again, making it a little smaller as we did there in a minute. But you see, once I did that, what I didn't do properly, and then you guys will learn from my mistake, is the tree is not symmetrical. So what I should have done if I was going to draw on the back side of the paper, I should have turned the tree over so that the front side, the side that I was going to decoupage, would be in the same direction as the side of the print. Okay, so all I just did, if you ever make that mistake, it's fine. We're just going to go ahead and dry fit, and then we're going to adjust the pieces that we need to adjust. So you see, I made a mistake so you guys could learn. How's that? I know it's so professional to leave the mistakes on there, but here's the thing. I don't want you guys to not learn how to figure out how to fix your problems. I know that we have tons of this wrapping paper, but if this was a sheet of, say, scrapbook paper that you got at Michael's 2 years ago, and it's the only one you had left, and you accidentally cut it wrong, I want you to be able to figure out how that you could work out the problems, okay? And that's really why I left it much faster than just showing you, hey, we're going to decoupage this tree, okay? So how we're going to fix it is we're going to dry fit it, and we're going to try to make the spaces more evenly around. We're going to cut up places where it was not even on both sides. You know, some of the spaces, some of the tree branches actually didn't have any space. So, and we're just going to fix that and dry fit it again. Dry fit it a few times until you get it exactly where you want it, and that's really what it's going to come down to. All right. Now you could do this with any paper. We just went for the farmhouse look, that rustic cabin look that I'm going for on my mantle. If you've watched the mantle tour in the description box down below, I'll link the video. But I ended up putting these on my mantle. I made like a little rustic mountain cabin feel up there with a little red truck and stuff. So, all right. So now it's almost exactly where I want it. But once you have it all figured out where you want it, I like to use a foam brush when I'm decoupaging. And this decoupage that I have here is actually like the rest of this nasty container. It was like a big clump. And I actually have had this decoupage bottle for a very long time. I want to say 14 years. But because when they came out at the Dollar Tree, I was using those. But I was like, why don't I just finish this bottle first? And now I know why. Because it's all clumpy in the bottom. But even with the clumpies in the bottom, I was able to find enough decoupage to go ahead and put it down. And you want to put a nice even coat underneath. Make sure there's no lumps. And then you want to go back over it with a nice even coat. Now, if you're using a really thin paper, like we've decoupaged with napkins before, you want to be gentle. Make sure you have enough medium on your brush and to try not to pull it too much. So I went back, as you see, it was not quite enough for this heavy craft paper. So I just peeled it back where it was dry and then went back over it when I was done. So just all these tips and tricks to see if you make mistakes. You can see how you can fix them, okay? And you want to make sure you want to get all the edges down smooth because the worst part is when the decoupage starts to peel up on the edges and then it starts to rip. That's not fun. And then you want to get a good coverage to good coating to cover it, and then you're going to set it off to dry. And this is a couple of hours later. And I wanted to show you an option. This is that scrapbook paper from the Dollar Tree. That was that really wood, washed wood. And you could do that for the star. You could also do that for the trunk, or you could just leave it just like this. I really love it. Now we're going to do fabric. And fabric is a bit of a different technique. It's not much different, but I'm going to show you some tips and tricks for dealing with fabric and decoupage. So you're going to do the same thing. You want to put a nice generous coat of the decoupage down before you put out down your fabric. And of course, you know, to make a manageable piece to deal with. Now, what I found important in my life, but may not be important in your life, is that I want my gingham to go even. Like if there were stripes, I want my stripes to be straight, you know, like, unless of course I was doing a diagonal stripe, that'd be different. So I'm making sure that I kind of plot it out a little bit. Do you see that? So once I have it all plotted out, you want to just trim to fit the big pieces. You don't want to waste any extra. We have this buffalo check I got at Walmart. This particular fabric was $2.97 a yard at the time I bought it. So what you want to do is you want to put down a really generous coat of the decoupage when you're doing fabric. And I am doing the trunk on this one, but I'm not doing the star with this particular big buffalo check. We're going to do a little gingham on the star. So you want to make sure you get a nice generous coat of it down. And then you're going to lay the fabric over the tree. I actually turned it over so I can do all that lining up that I promised you about. Okay, so I turned it over on the wrong side of the fabric. This is a homespun, so there's no wrong side to this fabric. But if you have a printed fabric, you want to make sure you turn it over onto the back side and then line your tree up. And now the trick with fabric that I find is a good trick is, again, generous coat on top. But I want to go over the border. I want to go over the edges because we're going to cut this one along the very edges of the wood. Then it's going to be much easier to cut and trim if there's decoupage on the fabric. So go ahead and spread the decoupage way beyond, not way, but beyond the edge of the tree, just enough so that when it's dry, it becomes stiffened fabric. And the reason we do that is because then we can cut it with a straight edge, a craft knife or an X-Acto knife. And it just really makes life that much easier. Okay? Now, if you've never cut with your craft knife or X-Acto knife next to wood surface or a metal surface, it's very, very simple. Once you get through the fabric, which I would do real close to the edge, you can just rub your craft knife against the edge of the wood, and you get a really, really clean cut. And then the worst case scenario is if you don't get a clean cut, you can always go back with your little scissor and trim up whatever loose pieces are left over. But this actually just makes this project so easy. All right. And you want to do it all the way around. I'll tell you the hardest part with this was the curves, but even the curves aren't that difficult. They're just more difficult than the straight lines. The straight lines go super smooth. And I think the curves are probably more difficult, not necessarily because of the knife, but because of the fabric. The weave of the fabric is obviously perpendicular. Well, it's in the same way as I don't know what I'm saying. Hi, how you doing? Yeah, yeah, sure. Okay. The curve of the weave is different than the curve of, I don't know. Stop listening to me, guys. You should have turned the channel a long time ago. Go watch somebody else. I think that's probably the best idea. Oh, so the grain of the fabric and the curve of the underside of the leaves is not conducive to a smooth cut. That's all I wanted to say. Just didn't come out right. So I also wanted to trim around the top by the star. I went ahead and I just finished off basically the legs of the star. I went straight up so that it was basically looked like the star was sitting on top of the tree. All right. Oh, man. And then I'm going back with my little scissors, as you can see, and I'm just cutting up whatever little pieces get left over. I find as a righty, it's best to work it's easier to work from the underside because the scissor that's closest to the material is going to be underneath so that you can cut that way, if that makes any sense. I hope it makes sense. So now the last thing I want to do is I wanted to put some of the small gingham on the star. And I'm not going to decoupage this. I'm just going to use my glue gun. This way it goes super fast. But you could decoupage it if you want to. It just takes more time to dry. And, you know, when we're crafting for you guys here on YouTube, we don't really have time to let stuff dry 24 hours. But this one I'm just going to show you just how to use your scissors. So if you go, like I said, work upside down if you're a righty. So that the bottom blade towards the material can cut closer to the wood. All right. And then when I have that all trimmed out, that's it. Now, if you wanted to poke this a hole back in here and hang this up, you could absolutely 100%. But we're going to put it in our little mantle display and let it stand up behind with our little forest of Dollar Tree trees. Right? So now I'm just checking, going around, cleaning up whatever little edges are left over, any little pieces, and that's it. So I hope you really enjoyed this tutorial. If you do, give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to share with friends and family, anybody you know might be interested in learning how to make this or any of them in the series. And if you haven't yet, click subscribe, and when you do, a little bell will pop up. When you ring that bell, YouTube will let you know whenever I upload a new video. And if you do have any questions, please leave them in the comments down below. And as always, you take care, God bless, and we'll see you next time. Bye.